I'm Isaiah Hucknance and today we're making beef jerky. The first thing you're going to want to do is get down to the shops and find yourself a kilo of lean meat. Take that meat home and cut off the excess fat. Now you don't want to cut the thin strips within the meat, but the long strips that are really going to affect the consistency of the meat. The small strips actually add a flavour to it. Once you've cut and selected the best bits of meat, put that in a freezer bag and put it in the freezer for an hour to an hour and 30 minutes. Just as the meat's about to get frozen, it's going to help the cutting process a lot more. Once the beef has spent an hour to an hour and a half in the freezer, pull it out, put it on a chopping board and cut it into the strips you want. After cutting all that up, you should have a pile of meat ready to marinate. Measure out 2/3 of a cup of Worcestershire sauce and chuck that in. Measure out 2/3 of a cup of premium soy sauce and chuck that in. Put in a tablespoon of honey. This is just going to add a little bit of sweetness. Put in roughly 2 teaspoons of ground pepper. Put in a teaspoon of grilling barbecue sauce. Then chuck in the meat. You're going to want to smush that around and really make sure that you massage it into the meat. If that's done, put it in a snap-lock bag or an airtight bag like I did. It's really up to you. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. Once you've put it into a Ziploc bag or an airtight bag, you're going to want to put it in the fridge for 12 to 24 hours depending on how much flavour you want in your meat. Time you're going to get it out and cut a small slit in it and pour out the excess juice. Then put the remaining meat into a large bowl and lay it out onto a baking tray. Turn up your oven to maximum temperature and put the meat in there for 10 minutes. The idea is to sterilise the meat, not to cook the meat. Next you're going to want to lay that meat out onto the dehydrator. Now you want to leave large gaps in between the meat. Don't fill it up too much because the air needs to get through from the bottom up to the top, because there's 6 racks in the dehydrator, or in my one at least, and the hot air needs to come from the bottom up to the top. I left my meat for 6 hours, but some people leave it up to 12.